really fully transitioned to the whole telesales deal. People working virtually, and then also I think a lot of people started to kind of just hit their stride in terms of taking their production to the next level.
And then there's also different types of telesales, right? So there's one call closes, there's live transfers, there's booking appointments, and 2 days out, booking 15 appointments, then calling those appointments. The most effective for us has been one call closes, hands down. We've noticed that, the most premium comes from there. You're already getting the client on the phone, so why not just try to get them right there and then?
Thank you for joining us on our Family First Life Tri-State Serve the People podcast. We appreciate you tuning in, spending your time to develop and grow with us. Follow us, please, on all our social media platforms at Family First Life Tri-State or FFL Tri-State. We love you. Keep listening, and I hope this information is serving you across the country.
All right, everybody, thank you for jumping on with us for our Tri-State Training Day podcast. This is our very first in-studio podcast in our new office. And of course, I'm blessed with the amazing presence of Hayden and Nina, two of the best people I know in this business who have done some amazing things in this industry and are coming off their best month ever. So we like to kick off the year with a bang, and we are in for a treat today. So I got Hayden Hill, Nina Damjanovic of FFL Limitless. They're cold stone killers in the nicest kind of way. And they're coming off of a 7,000 family a month December, a December to remember.
That's right.
And the brand new chairman council members of Family First Life Limitless. Congratulations, guys. You guys are amazing.
Thanks, Mark.
You
Thanks
are.
for having
This
us.
office is amazing. We're so happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming. And, I think it was so, apropos. You guys are in the city, and, we decided we want to get you in here. You guys decided to come your first time in New York. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Insane.
Really cold.
Makes sense, coming from Arizona. But beautiful city, right? Just everything you could even dream of.
It's a different world.
Super cool.
It's like the energy and the shopping.
Ha! You would know.
Yeah, I'm glad I came here now.
I know, right? December's a great time
Yeah.
to go to the city. And when we think about everything you guys have done, 2022 was a smashing year for you. I was reminiscing with you guys earlier. We were in Colorado, and this is what, March, April?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember this is when they were changing the number system over, and it was taking forever for numbers to come out.
Yep.
And we were in a car ride going back to the airport. We were waiting for the numbers to be released. And we always just flipping like
Refreshing the email.
the email to see if it came through.
Yep.
And I remember, Nina, you said that, you were hoping that you got to 3,000 families for the month. And you were making a joke it's probably going to be 2,999 or something like that. And then we refreshed it. It came out, and you were over 3,000 families. That was April.
Yeah.
April. 8 months ago, April. And you just 8 months later finished at 7,000 families. Guys, there's something in the water. So what I'd like to do is get into your hyper growth, the things you guys are doing from a nuts and bolts standpoint practically, because nothing just happens off will. It's backed by systems and, thought process and intelligence, but then you can will it once you have the nice track to run on. Talk to us a little about some of the stuff you guys saw in 2020, in a reflection of 2022, and some of the things that you saw take place in your deal.
I think, there's a couple of things that happened. One, we really fully transitioned to the whole telesales deal. People working virtually. And then also I think a lot of people started to kind of just hit their stride in terms of taking their production to the next level, but also realizing hey, if I can protect, 20, 30 families a month on my own, why don't I start, posting on social media and recruiting and talking to my, warm marketing and seeing, hey, if you want to do this, I can teach you how to do this, or at the bare minimum, you can start selling part-time. And so I think that was the biggest difference where, if you look back, there was only, me and Nina and a couple of people selling and recruiting. And then this year, really, I think in stride, been so many people that figured out not only how to sell a bunch, but also they're hey, let's build and get to VP and get their logo and all that kind of stuff. And so now it's just, there's so many great people we work with that are selling, recruiting, like all in 24/7, and it's just contagious, I would say.
Yeah, just the energy of just everyone doing it together. But I do think like telesales had a huge part to do with it. Like we were talking earlier about what or why people get so excited about telesales, or how come it's so duplicatable. And truth be told, it's like when we were in the field and it was, you know, we'd run some appointments together, we'd go into the home together, some people would be like, clients would be like uncomfortable, like, why is there more than one person here? So you can't take like 15 new, like say you hire a group, Mark, you can't take a group of 15 new people in the field with you. Like that'd be weird. Where telesales, it's like everyone's on Zoom together, everyone's dialing together, everyone's on the same mission, they're all getting, you know, beat up by some objections, they're all making sales, like whatever it is, they're doing it together. And I mean, you can take a group of 15, plug them into Zoom, have them watch some presentations, and that's how it's so duplicatable. So it's been tremendous.
Yeah, heck of a year. And to morph or to transition, I think that's the word. It's like you had already had people doing telesales. You had already realized this is the kind of the way you want it to go. And then you started making transitions. Like, what was that transition like? What was some of the systems that you had to put in place to get it to go?
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking earlier about how like there's people that say they work from home. Like being in the field, you're on your grind, you're driving. You just feel so much busier when you're in the field, right? Like you're driving, you're filling up your gas tank, you're going from this house to the next. Where when people transition to telesales, and I know Sean said it before, like work from your PJs or whatever, like that is not the case. We're still getting down and dirty, but just at home. So it's not like you're going from working to not working. You're going from working to probably working more because you're making more dials, right? And you're not leaving that chair wherever you're sitting until sales are made. Got it. So the biggest thing is like what we have as an agency, and a lot of groups have them, is like their Zoom. Ours is fflsalesteam.com, and anyone can plug into it at any time. It's fully open. But it's basically a Zoom where everyone gets on every single day from 8 a.m., 7:30 a.m. in the East Coast till all the way till 10 p.m., 11 Hawaii time or whatever it is. But essentially we have the Zoom, and agents get on there every single day. And the mission is make a ton of dials and one call close. So you basically call a client, and as you have them on the phone, your mission is to get them closed right there and then. And what the system that we have set up would be the Zoom, and making sure that all agents that are on there come on with their cameras on. That's the most important thing, I would say.
Makes sense.
Because like you wouldn't go in the field with a bag over your head or like a hoodie zipped up right here, like no. And when you have a presentation that you're doing, make sure you unmute, because that's just the best way for a new agent to get on and learn 1,000 times faster. So implementing that has been crazy. We have, 30, 40, 60, 70, hundreds of agents on every single day dialing together and just helping each other grow. So
that's fantastic. Just the camaraderie.
Yes.
And, you were talking earlier about like the actual technical strategy of having an agent watch these presentations. What's that like for an agent, Hayden? What is that like, them seeing people actually close business over the phone through Zoom?
I think in terms of like duplication, it's so much better than, what we used to do. But I think also, people can study a script, they can watch videos, they can, listen to like the training on like how to present, how to do it. But I think when they actually watch people over and over that are actually doing exactly how they would do regular, they're just projecting it for people to watch and learn. It helps a ton. And then I think it also in that environment helps people be like, instead of maybe they're nervous or shy at first, but they're like, all right, well, I just watched 10, 15 presentations today. There's a bunch of people on here. Why don't I just unmute and do my first couple? And, from there, just learning it better. And so
it's crazy, the confidence. Mm-hmm. Like you could transfer confidence in a matter of hours.
And what's cool too is not just like presentation, but like someone, let's say they're doing like, a term application and they get stuck on, checking a box or, hey, what should I say? They can share their screen and then whoever is like the main manager in there, basically the person can mute and say, hey, click this, you forgot this, you know, you have to click this, whatever. And so that's also been great as well, being able to really see what's going on exactly on their screen.
Got it. That's awesome. And that type of duplication helps a lot. Now there's recruiting though, right? Like, you know, we turn people into these monster salespeople, or they do a lot of phone calls per day. That helps, right? Because it's backed by, you know, real sales and volume. But you guys are recruiting well to the platform and getting people onboarded well to the platform. So there's 3 steps there. There's the sales step, which is like, hey, learn how to sell virtually. Cool.
Yep.
And that's like the agents you already had, right? Like, then there's the, okay, you know how to sell virtually. You know, let's recruit people to teach them how to sell virtually. And then we have to make sure that we onboard them, because you can get caught up in a lot of minutia. And then there's the mind of the new agent that's timid or, you know, potentially fearful of what may or may not take place. How did you guys get through that? What are some of the things you put in place for that?
Go for it.
You go for it.
I think kind of just setting out expectations from day one is super important to kind of know exactly the timetable and, you know, what's going to be happening next.
Correct.
So the new agent comes in and they pass their, you know, they study for their test, or maybe they're already licensed, they fill out contracting. From that point, what we have them do is basically start boot camp training, which is just an online, like, teachable kind of like, you know, chapter quizzes kind of deal on basically A through Z. It's more focused on telesales now than it is in-home. Mm-hmm. So the expectation is you do that the same day. It's going to take you a day or two and no more than 2 days. So you finish that. And ideally, the way it's set up is you do contracting, you finish boot camp, let's say in 2 days. Well, that second day, or maybe the next day, you should be having 1 or 2 carriers, maybe 3 or 4, come back and approve you.
Nice.
And so we've always been fans. We learned it from Sean and others of, like, you don't have to wait till you have all your, you know, 7 or 8 main carriers. So the whole goal is after they go through that and they get their, you know, first, second, or third carrier, it's like, hey, well, like, we're ready to go now. And so from there, we do something called, you know, an onboarding or lead strategy call. And basically what we do is we go through, you know, role play the script. From there, we talk about, like, device setup. So setting up, you know, phone burner, Zipo, whatever they're using for, like, texting, calling, etc. How to put leads in a phone burner, etc. Mm-hmm. So we go through that, and then also we share our screen of the CRM. And basically kind of devise, like, a lead strategy. Like, hey, this is how it works. This is how you find these. This is what internet leads are, direct mail, you know, social media, etc. And then depending on their budget and also, like, what their setup is like, because if we have a full-time agent that, you know, has you know, $1,000 plus to spend in leads for the first purchase, that lead strategy is a lot different than someone who's part-time and they got off work at 5 p.m. at night and they have $250. It's way different. And so really customizing that plan, and then basically on the call, like, hey, let's buy leads, because, you know, for me, especially for a lot of new agents, actually most new agents, I think the hang up between them going through training and writing their first policy typically is they just don't buy leads because they're fearful, just like everyone. Sure. It's new, it's scary. And so getting the leads right then, and then, you know, depending on the time, they're that day or the next day, like, they're getting on Zoom, they're unmuting, cameras on, and they're calling people and getting the feedback right away.
And then another part of the onboarding process is because we have our Zoom going on all day, every day, we have that newest agent getting on Zoom and watching at least 10 presentations. That way they kind of are already prepped and warmed up to what they're going into as far as a dial day.
Got it. So that's very cut and clear. And I think can free up a lot of things that people are thinking it is, right? Like, the one thing I never heard you two say is you have to learn in front of Tom and Mary. Like, you don't believe that. You believe that you can learn to sell over the phone from day one, correct?
Yeah. 100%.
Then I heard some agency managers say, we're sending our agents back in the field because it's going to be easier for them to make sales. You've never said that either.
No.
Like, that you say it like that's so strange. No, we've never said that. So speak to those people that are saying that.
Yeah.
That hey, you got to, in order for you to do telesales, you have to sit in front of Tom and Mary first, or which is probably more asinine to you. Hey, everyone, let's get back into the field because telesales isn't quite working the way we thought it could.
I think that's so funny. And I think majority of the people that are saying that, I'm just going to be real and raw, is the people that probably haven't stepped out of their own comfort zone and learned telesales. Like for us, when telesales became a thing, we're like, dude, we need to adapt. We need to learn this quickly. That way we can teach other people to do it. And like you look at the agencies that are exploding. There's, you know, of course us, Josh, Bowen, David, Robbie, like all these exploding agencies, they're all doing telesales, right? So I think as leaders, adapt. Like we got down and dirty. We freaking bought instant internet leads. We made our 1,000 dials. We got beat up. I got beat up on the phones for like 2 weeks before I made my first telesale. It was uncomfortable. But I was like, dude, how am I going to teach something if I haven't learned it myself, right? It's like a not Hall of Fame producer teaching someone how to Hall of Fame. It just doesn't make sense. So I think, yes, there's a learning curve, especially going, if you're killing it in the field, like you don't have to change it, but it is important to learn. Like I think you should still learn. So give it a shot. It's going to be a week, 2 week, it might be a 24-hour learning curve, but you got to embrace that because there are going to be a lot of agents, especially more now than ever, that come in that want to do telesales. Like anytime, like in the beginning when we started doing telesales, we give them the option of like, hey, do you want to do telesales or do you want to do field? Most people would say telesales, like 99% of people. Now it's like we don't even give them the option because we already know what they're going to say. Now if someone wants to go in the field, they can, but again, we had to learn. So I think for leaders out there, learn yourself and your mind will change. And then there's also different types of telesales, right? So there's one call closes, there's live transfers, there's booking appointments, and 2 days out, booking 15 appointments, then calling those appointments. The most effective for us has been one call closes, hands down. We've noticed that, the most premium comes from there. You're already getting the client on the phone, so why not just try to get them right there and then? And then when you book appointments, there is a lot of people that no-show the appointments and stuff like that, so been super fun.
And I think like other things when you just step back and you look at like the future and like what's happened the last year, 2 years, it's like, okay, well, COVID happened, so I don't know about you, but most people don't want people to come to their house.
Right.
Like if they don't need to, why would they do that?
Right.
The second thing is most of the leads that are ran in person are direct mail leads. Well, you look at, what are our direct mail leads? Final expense and mortgage. Mortgage flows way down because interest rates are high and people aren't refinancing and buying houses as much.
Correct.
And also, they're really expensive now. They're harder. You have to pay more to get them out because people are not filling out as many.
Right.
So that's the other thing. And the third thing is from a recruiting standpoint. Like, dude, it's 2022. Like, as of 2021, everyone wanted to work virtually or have the option to at least part-time work virtually. And so if you talk about, like, building an agency and recruiting, I can recruit the old way or I can recruit the current and the future way. And it's like most people, especially between ages 20 and 40, like they're pretty accustomed now from working from home. And so that's something else I think has really helped us with our growth in recruiting is, when we do have the option and do like, especially like from our last company and like other companies that were interested in FFL, before we went virtual, that was the number one thing that held them back from starting with us. Was they don't have a virtual sales platform. I want to sell virtually. Now when we started doing that was huge because people are like, oh cool, I can just do the same thing, sell virtually, but they have better comp and all these different things that we can use in our advantage.
Yeah, I remember one of the things that people would say is like, don't go virtual because your persistency will go down, and like that is 100% not the case. Because like when I'm face to face with you, I'm like the pressure's on, Mark. Like let's just see if you can qualify. But like over the phone, if someone doesn't want it, what are they doing? They're hanging up the phone. Like they just don't want it. It's really so good. We've even like our agents are hands down way more profitable because they're gas now is crazy expensive. Things, travel, whatever it is, it's expensive. So now like being able to work from, it's not working from home and being lazy, it's you're grinding from home. You're making 1,000+ dials a day and you're more profitable because of that. So
that's amazing. That's refreshing to hear. When you think about that very thing you just said, $1,000 a day, how many presentations do you think is a good number of presentations a day for agents to track themselves to be successful? When we were in the field, we knew how many appointments a day we would run, whether they also were there or not.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that if you ran X amount of appointments over so many days, it would equal
Yeah.
a certain amount of sales or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that you have the same algorithms for
Yep,
tele.
absolutely. And I think activity, no matter what kind of sales you're doing, virtual, in person, like you're always supposed to track your activity because that's how you get better. So in the field, your goal is to dial all day on Monday and dial all day on Thursday to book 15 appointments, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, right? So in total, 30 appointments. Well, we basically transition that into telesales. So you're still buying leads twice a week. So same kind of deal. Like, let's say we have an agent dialing on a Monday. They buy leads over the weekend. They buy at least 100 to 150 leads. And we buy CRM leads, internet leads. We love those. Those are great when it comes to virtual sales. So buy those, plug them into phone burner. Monday morning, you're ready to rock. Same kind of deal with dialing for in-person, but you're just dialing for over the phone. So you have your 100 to 150 leads. Monday, you triple dial them 3 times. So we still have like 3 dial sessions. So a morning dial session, you triple dial Mary. Mary doesn't answer, you have an afternoon dial session, triple dial Mary again. And then you have an evening session where you triple dial Mary again. Mary picks up the phone. The main thing is for you to try to call to close. So you're basically closing them right there and then. We count presentations. It's not just Mary picks up the phone and hangs up. A presentation is literally where you get to the close question. Okay, Mary, now these are the 3 options. Which one do you want to leave your daughter Sally with? That's one presentation. We still want to go for at least 25 to 30 presentations every single week. So you're still getting probably more activity in because you're not having to drive and no-show or whatever. So 5 presentations minimally a day.
That's strong. How do you then mix the recruit? Like, so sometimes when you're focused on sales and you haven't hit your numbers yet, you just go blind. You just go into blind mode and you just go. How do you mix recruiting and mesh recruiting into, because obviously if you get your first 4 sales in the first 5 hours, let's go recruit the world, right? How do you mesh recruiting into that? And how do you deal with the psychology of exactly what I'm saying? Morning was great, I'm going to recruit. Morning was not great, I can't recruit. Like, how do you make sure recruiting's taking place, and what are y'all doing to recruit?
What we teach people to do and what we did when we were in the field full time is early in the morning, like that's your recruiting, on social media. Throughout the day you're selling, and then at night after you're done with your appointments, that's when you're recruiting, for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the case may be. I know, like for us, we did so many recruiting calls like on the way to appointments, like in between appointments, and it's like gets a little bit chaotic. And so with our guys, it's like same thing, morning and night, that's recruiting. They do their dials and their sales in between, and then like you said, like if someone makes, whatever their benchmark is, whether it's 2 sales a day or 3 or 4, whatever, they hit that number. If they don't want to keep on selling and making more money, use the rest of the day to recruit. And so that's kind of the setup. And I think because people aren't driving around and getting no-showed and that kind of deal, they're buying back a couple hours a day where they can use that time to recruit. And even just like say like if you're in the field and you had a 6 p.m. appointment versus a 6 p.m. at home. Well, I don't know like the area around here, but like for us, like it was usually like 30, 40, 50 minutes away from where we live to do appointments. So I do that 6 p.m. appointment. I'm probably not getting home if I sell it till probably 8 o'clock, 8:30, maybe 9. Versus telesales, like it's gonna take you probably 30 to 50 minutes, maybe an hour. And so now it's 7 p.m. and you're home and you can recruit now and do that. And it's just using time. It's being wiser with time.
And I think it's just like, we're big on structure. Like we always know exactly what time we're doing what. Even in the field, we knew at 8 a.m. we're leaving the house, but at 7 a.m. we're recruiting. At 6 a.m. we're working out. You know what I mean? So like really good structure. And then also another important thing, like that everyone should factor this time into their telesales schedule is time for follow-ups. Like especially with telesales, you're gonna get your people on the phone that are like, I wanna think about it, or give me a call back tomorrow, I need to get my banking information, or whatever it is. Like making time, whether it's in the morning or afternoon, in one of your little hour sections of your day to do the follow-up stuff, call the carriers, whatever you need to do. So that's really important.
So then you guys took this thing to a whole nother level. You start bringing people from different new agents, I think I understand this correct, I'll let you explain it, but to a city, whatever city you select, and you rent out an Airbnb, and you do a 1 to 3 day training intensive. Can you like walk us through, and you call those lock-ins, right? Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through how are you setting that up? Who are you inviting to that? Why? And how does that hold? Because it seems like it's catching fire. I'd love to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so at our practice company, and I think a lot of people do it, regardless of sales industry. Like we used to go to New Mexico a lot on like road trips, essentially, with our practice company and Right Business, and we would see like alarm companies out there, door to door, like solar guys, all that kind of stuff. So it's the idea is it's the old like travel trip. Okay. The only difference is now instead of all traveling to one city and then from there breaking up and selling during the day in person, the difference is, hey, now we're telesales. Everyone meet up in one area. It doesn't really matter where that area is because obviously you're selling virtually. Sure. And then from there, basically just an all-intensive, just down the phones all day, doing trainings, especially for new agents, being able to listen to like good producers and top producers and like pick up things. I think the main, there's a couple of things. I think one for like camaraderie and culture, it's great because you get to hang around those people more, maybe that don't live in the same state as you, and learn things and all that kind of stuff. But then also, I think it's just, I was telling Nina, like we had a big one last week, and it's just the main differentiator, I think, is people just work. Because like the whole work from home thing is awesome, but if you don't actually work, like what she was saying, it's like it doesn't work then.
It's actually funny because we did our 3-day lock-in last week, and it was huge. We had like 60 agents there, and like honestly,
crazy.
The best lock-ins are the ones with like 5, 10, 15 people there.
Got it.
Air smaller, you really get to focus on that group. But it's funny because there were agents there that produce at a high level and then agents that don't, and you really got to see what a day in the life of both looks like. The ones that don't were just like walking around the whole time. One of them I think took a nap, didn't he? He laid on the ground and took a nap. Full blast right here. It was like
so
1 p.m.
This is what your day looks like.
And then he called, but those are the agents that are always like,
routine.
it's not working for me, blah, 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 blah. Where on the flip side,
the ones who take naps, it doesn't work for them.
literally.
Right.
But the ones who were like, are always putting up numbers were dialing the phones, like crushing it 3 days straight from 7:30 a.m. to like 9 p.m. just on their grind. And it's honestly like, we were talking about it, we're like, it's not that lock-ins are like this magical thing where something happens. It's like, again, people just come in to work and everyone's on the same mission. And we have the way we break them up is, of course we have our dial sessions every single day, but we also have trainings midday. So let's say we break at noon for lunch, at 1 p.m. we'll have a training, and then it's back to dials. And then we really get to sit there one-on-one. It's a different vibe when you sit one-on-one next to someone versus on Zoom. Because you literally get to like, the way they sit, the way they, the way they act on, like, that's clients great. Feel that energy. Wow. So sitting next to them, focusing on their posture and different things is like huge.
How do you coach posture? I don't know why that went in my brain, but how do you coach? What are you coaching on, obviously? And I don't want to be too funny about the posture thing, but like, what are some of the things you're picking up? And then how are you course correct? And now, are you setting the table of like, hey, this is going to be a week of a lot of course correction, so don't get offended, and like, or how do you set it up so that people are receiving as well as giving?
Yeah.
I think it's basically like, hey, we're all here to work. We're all going to get better. If you're new or you're not doing, as well as you want to be doing, then there's going to be people that are listening, top producers. They're going to be like, hey, man, say this. Hey, say this. Don't say that. Say it this way, etc. And so I think everyone's understanding, like, hey, we all took flights to get here. Like, we're here to get, we're here to get better, not mess around.
That's really good, yeah.
And then honestly, most of the time it's not dialing the phone. Like when people are really dialing, they're gonna make sales and do well. So that's one thing. But also like once they are working and dialing, the tweaks basically are just usually little things. Usually it's tonality, it's way too high, way too low. It's they're just not on script at all, where they're not asking good questions and like going over the correct steps. And so usually it's just a couple like small things, but also I think it's, those people that maybe aren't doing as well, they get surrounded by people that are doing what they're supposed to do and they know what they're doing, and they start listening and like, dang, dude, like my pitch is way different than that person. Like that person says this, they, give their state license number and send them, their state license before and all this kind of stuff. Maybe I should do that. And then I think when they hear that kind of stuff and they watch the presentations for a few times, then they start to make changes in their presentation to be better.
Yeah, and then another huge message throughout these lock-ins is, hey, everything you learn here, take it home with you. You know what I mean? All the habits of like David Pania, who is a Hall of Fame producer this year. He'll do 500 families.
That's
like
amazing.
Crushes it doing telesales. Like everyone there was watching and listening to what he was doing because they're like, dude, I want this to be me next year. You know what I mean? So they take those habits and bring them home, which is huge.
That's amazing. It's funny. The Zoom live dial is set up for this exact same thing. But it's clear your passion just went to 10 when you talked about the lock-ins and the actual, person to person, kneecap to kneecap, and this ability to learn much faster. Why do you think they're learning faster than the Zoom? Like the Zoom is basically set up to kind of do the same thing. It's you're listening, you're watching, you're able to go into a breakout room and do these things, and then you do these lock-ins almost like as an extra thing or the main thing. I don't know. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the human interaction. It's also, there's a little bit of good peer pressure there as well. But like there was probably, 10, 12 new agents last week at our lock-in, and almost all of them got their first sale in those couple days.
It's amazing.
And it's like, dude, like when it was like 6, 7 p.m. at night, like with this guy, we call him Big John. Big John was talking to everyone, like, and I'm like, dude, I just keep on seeing you talking to people. Like, can you go dial and be like this dude, this new guy who's made like 4 sales today? He's like, yeah. Well, within like 30 minutes, he had his first sale. It's like, dude, when they hang up the phone after their first sale, everyone was like getting like lit, like
that's
super excited for
I
him.
totally get it.
So it's just that like culture building
awesome.
thing of like, hey, we're gonna all shoot for 2+ sales every day. And then these new people that came and invested and got themselves out here, we're not leaving until they make at least 1 sale. Like they're gonna figure it out on this trip.
That's strong.
And get their first sale. And I think it's just like, even just recruiting and working with people, like, dude, if you're calling me all the time and I'm not putting in the work, I'm not changing, you're giving me advice, and I'm kind of like shrugging it off, like you're gonna get like pretty like annoyed and just like fed up with it.
Right.
Versus like we love working with new agents because it's new excitement, it's new purpose, it's all that kind of stuff. Same thing here, dude. It's like all these new people, like they start to learn and you see the growth, and it just gets everyone fired up, and it's great.
Yeah, it's cool though. Everyone had a win last week, and it was just the energy there was just insane.
That's amazing. So, how do you guys plan a lock-in? Like, what makes you say, hey, pick a city, let's go?
Yeah. So we'll look at like our groups within our organization, whether it's groups that have a ton of momentum that are going for, let's say, logo or VP or a new rank or whatever it is, or groups that have a ton of new agents, or if we have a bunch of new direct agents in a certain area, like we'll basically pick and choose. I think if you guys plan to do a lock-in, I think do 1 a month. I think that's fair, and you can do them in different places. The way we do it is anyone that's going to the lock-in, we have a requirement that you purchase $1,000 in leads before you go. Because if you're going, it's not just to like listen and do any of that. It's to actually put in the work. So all the people coming, so we'll get an Airbnb, and typically it's 2 to 3 days. This last one that we did was 3 days, and we got 2 Airbnbs because we had a ton of people.
Nice.
But if you're doing a smaller one, get 1 Airbnb. Everyone that has leads, get there. Let's say it's on a Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are full dial days, and you kind of break it up into meetings and different dial sessions and stuff like that. But that's basically it.
That's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
That's momentous. Seeing people go from one level to another. They probably leave a lot more confident too.
100%.
And then you're seeing that like translate into the live dial when they get back to their city, their original city.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy confidence.
Yeah.
How many of the people that are coming or that are learning how to do it become trainers pretty quickly? or does it take a while to morph more into training?
I would say a good amount. And I think also, like, you know, some of the sub agencies that, you know, maybe that leader's starting to figure out sales, or they've had it figured out. I think it also kind of pushes them to be like, all right, well, like, it's great that Hayden and Nina put on the lock-in for my group, but like, why don't I take some accountability? It's my team, my agency, my business, and let's start doing these once every 6 to 8 weeks. And so I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to most is, you know, we probably had, I don't know, 6, 7, you know, pretty decent sized sub agencies with us last week. And what I'm looking forward to is starting to see them every single month or month and a half do their own. And then this thing just keep on duplicating. It's like, dude, if we can get, imagine like having like 10, 15 lock-ins a month within your group.
That's crazy.
Bro.
We had a relatively...
Oh, hey, and let me tell you this. Deposits and record days, all 3 days. Wow. Record everything.
It was insane. But we had an agency there that was a relatively new agency, and they had 6 guys there, and they're all like super sharp, like rocking the whole time, just selling. Between those 6, they had like a 90K week, and it was a record week for them, obviously. Record week for the agency. So it's just like everyone just together, the energy's high, dialing, putting in the work. And it's so cool. There's so many people, because we had the Airbnbs, but we went to an office, a local office, just to stay super focused. And a lot of people were like, we're leaving here, you know, at the office at like 8:30, 9 p.m. And people were like, hey, can I stay longer? Like, I'm dialing Hawaii. Like, I just have a bunch of leads to dial. Nice. So it's super cool.
You guys are absolutely crushing it. You keep taking it to new levels, and it's exciting to watch. It's also amazing to hear you guys help so many people and train. And you know, it's amazing to watch you guys continue to grow and scale your deal. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for what you've done for the company, what you continue to do for your company. You guys are killer integrity partners, and just keep setting the pace for your team and a lot of others to watch. So I appreciate you coming in and joining us. I love you guys.
Thank you for having us.
You.
All right, baby. Nina and Hayden, they killed it. Training Day podcast. You got to listen to this one, play it back. This is the way to make it happen in our business in 2023. Do not get it confused. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.